was back on the record.
So I had a discussion with engineer and the planner about this requirement, and then there is a requirement for most plans. The ordinance was amended 2019 to require minor site plan approval for change in use. There is a mechanism for an applicant, a potential applicant, to seek a waiver of that requirement, and that can be done by the borough engineer as a series of standards by which to make that determination. But in order to make it crystal clear, the proposal, what the board could do is that one of the conditions be if there is any proposed change in use, the applicant must provide that information to the borough engineer prior to seeking permits for that change of use, for the borough engineer to determine the need and whether there is a need for minor site plan or other approval.
Understood.
Okay, perfect, thank you very much. Any other questions from the board? Professionals, Mr.? No? Okay, so we'll open this up to questions from the public. Yep.
I don't know, just for my understanding, did we settle on 24-foot, the roadway?
Jason, I'm so sorry, I can't hear you.
Did we settle on the 24-foot roadway, entrance off of the road, and what about the brick on the?
We didn't settle on the brick, I don't think, but we did settle on the 28 and the 24, correct? Yes. Hmm?
We did, yeah, that's.
Yeah. But we didn't settle on the brick. Do you wanna do the brick now? Do you?
No, I think Mr. Kelly said we were gonna later, but I wasn't.
You might as well get it done. Yes,
We
sir.
might as well get it done, yeah.
It's no
yeah.
big issue, really.
Well, I think the issue that they explained was that if they put full-size brick on the buildings, it would be.
No, this is just a dumpster.
I know that, but if they did it on the building, it would require a, foundation. But you're going to have to do a foundation anyhow to build this enclosure,
We'll
correct?
go with the board's preference, half brick or full brick for these dumpster enclosures, whatever your preference is, we'll do.
Frank,
Right.
full brick or half brick?
Full brick.
I'm good with that.
I'd go with veneer and the design criteria matching. That would be my basis for making my decision.
We're doing full or half?
Half.
Yeah, no.
From half.
Well, I would go for full, but the halves have it.
Could you put the half in phase one, and if it didn't work,
No.
you change it to phase two? No.
No.
Well, I think either way, they've gotta maintain it, if they get the half brick or the full brick. I've seen plenty of full brick enclosures and nobody repairs them, so I don't know what the requirement for repairing is.
Well, the good news is the owner's gonna be at this site.
Yeah, anybody said it's probably
Yeah.
easier to repair the half brick, and in
Correct.
fact, it's consistent with the design, I'd go with the architect.
Half brick it is.
Half brick it is. Okay, so now we will open it up to the public for questions, comments. If you have a question, come forward. I think you'll have to use, maybe you can
Right
use
here.
that.
Right there.
Okay,
You can just
state
stand
your
there.
name and address.
Frank Mangruvigi, 35 Janeway Place, Morris Plains. I discussed here once before about EV parking sites. I just see this location as a very favorable location for EV charging.
Sir, I can't.
You have to
gotta
speak into the
Okay.
microphone.
Okay.
Put the mic
can
up,
pick it up.
put the mic
Pick
up.
it
and
up.
go.
Thank you. I just see this site as a very positive situation for EV charging, and I think it could be beneficial to Wychard as well. For example, Tesla puts in supercharger locations at people's property. They pay for the equipment, they maintain it, they charge the people, and they give the property a percentage of the profits. There is not a Tesla supercharger site. There are 8 miles, 6 miles, and 6 miles, and not a single one in Morristown. There is a real need to have one right here. And they would, you'd have to agree to it, right? And how many and what. But it would now bring in people from a farther distance. since I have such a car and use it, a percentage of those people get out and look to do something, like buying something, get a cup of coffee, get a sandwich, things like that. So it draws people in. And since they're required to have 32 EV sites, maybe having some of these would be mutually beneficial.
Anybody want to take that?
I think Eric addressed this last time.
Yeah, I mean, the law doesn't specify what type to provide. I would ask, we'll follow the law, and if the applicant finds a favorable deal for whatever, whether it's Tesla superchargers, some new technology, whatever, they should have the ability to do so, because that's permitted under the law, but we don't wanna be.
Can't commit to it now. And
Yes,
the also
thank
thing,
you.
we're coming back here many more times, I suspect, over the years to come. So we're gonna be here next year, the year after, as this unfolds. The technology may change, this issue may change, we can deal with it with the answer.
And you're only required to make them ready.
Right.
Correct.
You're not required to actually install the,
Correct, so we're
Yeah.
complying with the law is the point, but I think it's a good point, and obviously technology's improving, expanding, and we'll be talking about it in the years to come.
And now that all the locations of the underground wiring is gonna be located, it'd be easy to make those changes, I would take it, right?
Well, there'll be a note in the plan saying it's gonna be on.
A big
Try
note.
sneaking that in there, I know it's good. Huge.
But,
Mr. Contractor, read the note.
Are there any other questions? Anyone from the audience? No? Okay, well then we will, close that portion of the meeting of the questions and, have some deliberation. What does the board, what's your pleasure? Perhaps we would ask the attorney to draw up a resolution of approval, or?
I think that's something that we should consider and should do, and we need a bunch of conditions. I think Leon has enumerated a number of them, and maybe people have some other conditions that they think should be in there. But you have to see the draft, and perhaps the attorney works with our planner and our engineer over the conditions that we have talked about. I have just one thing that I think should be in there, and that the conservation easement where the pond is should be cleaned. And when I say clean, the dead branches and other debris that's in there, a landscaper can take out and should take out, because it's a mess. And that should be in as one of the conditions. Very simple thing to do, just to do it. It's important.
Anything else?
Just with
Yes,
the truck
Leon.
traffic, or the construction traffic, just utilizing Route 202, not Johnson Road out to Mount Cardis.
Okay. They could come in Johnson Road, but not go to
Route
Mount
10.
Cardis.
Yeah.
Not going out the back way, if you
Right.
will. into First System.
Leon, did you have something?
Yeah, there's one condition, I've discussed it with Andy in the past, I discussed it with Mr. Keller recently, and that is the timing of a couple of outside agency approvals. We touched on this somewhere during the hearings, and that is, at what point in time does the applicant have to obtain the NGA DOT access permit? He's asking for the board to approve phase one final without that permit in the board's hands. I believe that's what you're asking.
Yes, that's the pending application, that's
Okay.
correct.
And I also believe there's another permit that relates to the future phasing, and that is the NJDEP TWA permit, which is the sewer extension permit. At some point in time, this development will generate a flow in excess, additional flow in excess of 8,000 gallons per day, and that triggers the need for the NJDEP TWA permit. I don't know if I have the answers here tonight, but I'll have to speak to Andy about it. Andy can discuss it with Mr. Malaman, but there's gonna have to be some very clear thought put into at what point in time, as relates to the phasing of this project, are those permits gonna be required to be submitted from the applicant to this board to allow a certain phase to advance?
Not phase one, but following phase one.
Some undefined future phase. At first I thought, whatever the next phase is, you have to have these permits in your hand. But I've discussed this with Mr. Keller, and that may not be true. But again, you have to stop and think about that driveway coming off of Route 10. When does that become imperative as relates to the future phasing of this development? It may be the next building, it may be 4 buildings from now. I don't have a clear answer, but I'll have to work on that condition with Andy, Liz, and I'm sure Mr. Melvin will have some.
Yeah, I think it's a fair point, and I think you can't really answer it now because the future phases are undefined. It could be one building, it could be several buildings, and I think as we come in with those phases, this will be an issue front and center. We will be in a position with you at that time, whether we need a DOT permit at that time or not, you obviously would decide whether we agree with this or not, but we would take a position relative to those issues at that time.
And you're not saying, I think you're not saying that building B will be the next phase.
That's
It
correct.
could be building D and H.
Exactly
Okay,
right.
okay.
Exactly right. We're just telling you, we're building phase one as you've seen phase one.
Mhm.
And the other thing was sort of conceptual, we expect it will change over time, frankly. And we'll work with us on that, it'll be a collaborative process.
Right, and I mean, if we're talking DOT approval, if it was a building in the back, it might not.
Yeah, for instance.
Needed,
The
but
building in
if
the
it-
back is
right.
self-storage, just low traffic generator, low sewer demand, UWA or DOT, as an example.
Okay.
It might not need it, but again, we'll have to analyze that when that comes in, because
Right.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's
Right.
exactly right, but that's
the
one.
point I'm trying to make is, without that Route 10 driveway, all that traffic is gonna be put on your municipal streets. So it's something to be very keenly aware of as we advance into the future phases. Other than those 2 approvals, the standard language about all other agency approvals have to be in hand for preliminary and phase 1 final, right?
Well, we have county.
We have county planning board.
You have SCD, right?
We'll file for SCD
For phase one,
for phase 1.
and
Sa-
utilities for phase
Southeast
one.
Morris.
Utilities are phase.
Southeast Morris is, we're already into that, we don't have to go to the DEP. Southeast Morris has what they call a master permit, so we just deal with them. Even if we were building the whole thing, we don't have to deal with DEP on water, thankfully.
My God.
And I know that for,
Facts are.
Did you hear that?
I will repeat it.
Okay, I think.
I think also,
Yes.
I wanna add to my resolution, Mr. Harold Maltz, his comments are incorporated in that.
Yeah, there's gonna be several.
A lot.
There's fire department, again, there's gonna be a long list of conditions here.
So we totally expect that. So just for the record, we're being carried out to March 18th, is that correct? Is that the next meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
March 18th, 7:30 this room, no further notice,
No further notice, but you will extend the time.
well, to the end of March, Karen.
You'll
Yeah.
send time
I will,
and also, right,
absolutely, Karen.
to the end of the month.
You got it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good night.
Excuse me, are we voting to get a draft approval?
That's correct.
We'll, yes, we do need to take a vote on having the attorney prepare a resolution of approval. Do we have a roll call vote on that, please?
Just for the record too, what you're approving is the minor subdivision application, preliminary site plan for the entire tract, and phase 1 final
Final
site plan.
site plan.
And that's sort
What
of.
about the variances?
The variances, the design waivers, the soil disturbance permit, and the approval to demolish a building in excess of 100,000 square feet.
thank you.
I think that's it.
Do we have a do we have a motion
I moved it, yes.
and second?
Second.
And could we have roll call, please?
And was it, Mayor Carr?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Garavaglia.
Yes.
Mrs. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Stecker?
Yes.
Mrs. McCluskey?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mayor Carr?
Yes.
And Mr. Drusilla?
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Leon, we have to do an executive. Not my side. You could just talk to that gentleman before we go to executive. Or just exchange numbers
And one
about
question.
flooding.
You fly a helicopter?
Major electric draw.
He didn't teach you. Yes, it is.
Maybe one day.
Does he use it a
Thank you
lot?
everyone for your time.
Does he use it a lot? Every day?
He, no, not every day.
Oh,
He flies more recreation.
so not necessarily to this spot
No.
for recreation?
I think it's just, he went through a lot to get support.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. I will, send you. It would be nice if I could.
Oh, yep.
You don't mind emailing me those pictures? Okay. Yep.
Is it a big building?
That's sweet. Thank you.
Okay, so we're now at, committee reports. The minor site plan committee.
Awesome, thank you.
He's not here. No report.
Thank you. Reach out if you.
Yep, absolutely, thank you.
Master plan review committee. New business.
Okay, I have new business. I did send out a list of the meeting dates and a list of the planning board members and the professionals. I very nicely asked all the professionals to look and make sure everything was perfect, and they all emailed me back. But I would like you to look at that list. I know that Mr. Garavaglia, I have his address wrong, I will change that, but everybody else, email me if there's any change in it, okay?
Thank you, Karen.
Morris Plains, my last name Morris Plains as well. Plains.
Oh, okay.
It has
good.
a semicolon, I think.
Where is it?
My address.
I don't have Morris Plains anymore. Oh, I see.
Okay?
I have Morris Plains. But isn't it?
You have a semicolon in the email address.
Okay, I don't, C. Kelly at morrisplainsborough.org.
Is that Morris
I'll show you.
P.
We'll do-
colon?
Here's
Yes.
a semicolon.
Yeah.
We can do it later, don't worry about it.
Okay.
Do we have, yes,
Just one thing, am I needed for the March meeting on Mike or not?
Oh,
no?
oh, no, I thought we were talking about executives tonight. That's a different question.
Am I gonna be needed for the March meeting?
I don't think so. I think I can get you a copy of the resolution if you're happy with, I have all the conditions.
I didn't think you did.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much.
Have a good night. Good night, thank you. Take care.
Okay, now we have, old business. Now I have to find that resolution.
I have to give you one.
I have it right.
All right, but there's a change in it.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Planning Board Resolution 24-05. Resolution authorizing closed session pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Law. Be it resolved by the Morris Plains Planning Board in the County of Morris and State of New Jersey on this 12th day of February 2024 as follows. 1, the Morris Plains Planning Board shall adjourn to executive session in accordance with NJSA 10:4-12B7, being the Open Public Meetings Law, in order to discuss potential litigation. 2, it is not known at the present time when the matter under discussion will be disclosed. 3, the Morris Plains Planning Board shall convene following the executive session to consider other matters on its regular meeting agenda. 4, this resolution shall take effect as provided by law.
So moved.
Yeah, I have to wait for her. Second?